Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is a Wednesday and we're going to get this girl all finished up. We've got the bottom part of her skirt left to do and the background in the watercolor, and then we're going to do some embellishments. So there will be a brief, I guess I'll be back part of the video where I will let this dry because the background is going to be heavy with water. So putting the embellishments on beforehand can cause us some issues when it comes to the water from the background. It's going to take a little bit longer for it to dry. So we're going to do the painting part of it, and then I'll come back after it's dry and finish up the video with the embellishments. The embellishments we're going to use are something called Liquid Pearl. They are a Ranger product from the same company that does stickles. They're the same size as the stickle bottles, and we'll be using those on the hearts as well as this butterfly here. For these butterflies, we will be using the Flare glitter pens as well as the Link Shine, and we'll do up these butterflies here with these pens. All right, so let's get started. We're going to zoom in and get going on the bottom here. I guess you don't need to be that close, but there you go. So now we're going to do this part here. We're going to do this part in a pink, but it's going to be a darker pink than this. And then we've got this ruffle down here, which we're going to do in the same purple. So we're going to start off with number 58, I think. Hold on, let me consult. No, we're going to start off with 26 or 25. 25 is not the right color. I grabbed the wrong color out of the box. Hold on 1 second. I grabbed the wrong color. It's all good. We're going to be using some, let's just make sure I grab the right color this time. There we go. Number 26 instead of 25. We will be using some actual watercolors for the background. So once we get to that point, we will be using this little set of watercolors that I have here. And we'll be using the pink, let's just throw them anywhere, the purple and the two blues, as well as a black, or not black, a white. So we'll be using this one, this one, this one, and this one, as well as some white. And we'll create a bit of a background with that, hopefully. Hopefully I won't completely mess it up and cause myself extreme embarrassment. So first of all, I'm coming in with a number 26 underneath here where all those shadows are going to be. This here is a heart, so we're going to come around it. I'm not worried about the watercolor getting on the hearts or any part of them because of the fact that the liquid pearls is very, very opaque. You won't even see the color underneath it if the watercolor gets on them. So, but we're going to come in here. We're going to fill this in. I might turn the music on just so that, when I'm quiet, you don't just hear me breathing because that's just annoying. I hope you have all enjoyed the month of this artist. Like I said, many, many times before. She is a young artist that is just starting out and needs our support. So if you haven't already, please make sure that you go over and purchase some of her work off of my Patreon shop. Um, all of the proceeds do go to the artist, except for, of course, the Patreon fees, which come out automatically whenever something is purchased. But all the rest of the proceeds are all going to her. Um, and the more sales, the higher her confidence gets. And so, if you haven't already, go over and purchase either a book of the Valentine's ones. I know it's past Valentine's Day, but you can purchase them and color them for next year or anytime because they're just absolutely adorable. They're not specific to Valentine's Day. They have a lot of hearts and flowers and lovey things in it, but you can definitely color them all year round. Just going around the heart here with the darker color and then up under here where that shadow is going to be. You just don't have to make sure that you get a lot of color down. Just have to make sure that you get enough color down that it gives you a good shadow line. There's a ribbon here, so we're going to come down the ribbon. Same with this side. I was going to do the lower part of her dress in green, but I changed my mind. So I think that it will look better if I just do it in a dark pinks. All right, so there's that one. Now we're going to use this one here. Yeah, and this one. So the next color we're going to come in with is number 59. And we're just going to go into the edge of it with the darker pink. And we're covering the majority of the area with this darker pink. We're going to leave some highlight areas which we'll use a lighter pink in. So we're going to use the lighter pink here. And of course you don't have to use the lighter pink because you can drag the darker pink and create the lighter pink. I just like putting the lighter pink in. It makes me feel like I've actually colored the area. Just saying. I am a colored pencil person, not much of a watercolor person. So with doing the lighter colors, it makes me feel like I've actually colored in the space. Where if I didn't do it, I would feel like I left a blank space and that would bother me. Even though I know it's going to get filled with the watercolor, it still gets to me. And we are going to use the same brush that we've been using. It's just a small travel watercolor brush that came with my paint pan, but it's a wonderful little brush. It works really well. We'll also be using the larger brush for the background from another watercolor brush set I have from Fuyimi. It's Fuumuui, Fumi, however you want to say it. The only thing you have to be careful of with watercolor pencils is that if you put too much dark down, it's going to overtake. So you're going to have to be picking up some of the color. All right, so we're ready to activate this. Maybe, if I can get the paintbrush to work. You can use a watercolor pen as well. Just going to come in here and get the under areas activated because we don't really want to drag that really dark color too far. We may actually be picking up some of it because it is really dark. But I do want this to be a quite dark area. So if you find that the paint area that you're coloring is darker than you want it to be, you just wet your pen or wipe off your pen from the color you've already activated and just go back through and pick up some of that color. It'll be fine. Now we're going to get into the lighter colors and we're going to start blending them together, creating that highlight. And now we're going to soften that edge a little bit. Make sure you get in and activate all of that color. Otherwise, when you come in with the liquid pearls, it'll activate because it's a water-based product. It may reactivate a little bit, but not as much as if it wasn't activated at all. Dragging those together, keeping that dark up in the top area here. The one thing about watercolor is you can make a really heavy dark area, but then soften it as it comes down into a lighter area. It gives it a really nice progressive look into the colors without having those really harsh lines that sometimes you get with colored pencils. Especially when you're going from a really dark color to a light color. Trying not to get it on the ribbon here because that's going to be a very light color. A little bit of it's not a big deal because it's going to be darker around the edges, but the ribbon is a purple tone, a purple color, so we don't want it too much of the red pink on there. Again, I'm not too concerned about it getting on the hearts, but I am trying to avoid it. And this is my concentration face. This is where I concentrate a little bit harder, kind of getting into those lines. The reason why I concentrate so much harder when it's getting closer to the lines is because I did print this on an inkjet printer, so the lines do bleed a little bit. If you are going to print for watercolor, it is better to print on a laser printer, but my laser printer will not take this paper, so laser printers are a little bit finicky when it comes to heavier paper. You have to get a really good one to be able to print on that heavier cardstock. Now we're just going to drag this in to that highlight there. And I'm going to dry this part with the air gun, with the drying tool. The background, I will try to dry it with the air gun, but like I said, it's going to be a lot of water, so it's going to soak right through the paper, and it's not going to dry as easily as these small areas because it's a lot more water that we're going to be using than we're using on the picture itself. Now we're just going to drag that down, activate this area here where it's darker, and then we're just going to drag everything together. Now if you find that you end up with a harsh line like this, just take your brush, get it wet, and go back in and just drag it around. It'll soften that line. If you really enjoy watercolors, and sparkly watercolors especially, our wonderful Tanya from Appetite for Coloring, you may know her channel, um, creates some absolutely gorgeous watercolors. I was over at Alex's and she showed me a couple of different pictures that she did with Tanya's watercolors, and they are just absolutely beautiful, beautiful pigments and beautiful paint. So if you really enjoy the sparkly watercolors and the watercolor paints, um, take a look at what she does. She does sell them, so you just have to message her on Instagram, and she will be happy to walk you through the purchasing of some of her paints. All right, so we've got that part done. I'm going to dry that off with our heat gun. And then we're going to move down to the bottom part here in the corner, and then we'll do the background. So I apologize if the heat gun is extremely loud, but it's a necessity. One of those things that makes doing watercolor a little bit easier, because then you don't have to wait so much for it to dry. Now, when you're doing a large background, you may find that you need to wait longer because of the fact that the background is much bigger and going to take a lot more water. Now we're coming in with number 12, which is our light purple color. I'm going to cover the whole area with number 12, and then we'll come in with our darker area for the shadows. And the creases and all that. And then we'll come in with some red for the bow. And yeah, I am going to sneeze. Hold on 1 second. I think, maybe. It was a fake you out sneeze. Made me feel like I was going to sneeze, and then it didn't. Okay, so I'm going to activate this purple because it's such a light color. I don't want it to completely disappear with the other colors. So I'm going to activate it, and then we may put more on once we get the darker purple on there. But I want to see where it is and how bright it is, and if I need to add another coat. Of course, you can definitely increase the color of an area by adding more paint. All right, just going to bring that up to the edge a little bit, and we're going to dry that. I know we got most of this done on stream, and I should have probably ran a little bit longer on stream and got it finished, but I was hungry. It was past dinner time and I was hungry. So I went and made some dinner and hung out in the Discord for a little while. If you're not already a member of the Discord, um, check it out. We do have a couple of different things that happen in the Discord. We have a Discord meetup on Thursdays where we hang out and chat and work on some works in progresses and that sort of thing. We also have a new feature, well, a new room, a new space in the corner called the Book Nook, where it's a great space for talking about the books you're reading, that sort of thing. I think they're talking about doing little sprints as well as book of the month and stuff like that. So make sure you hang out in there and take a look. They have a chat room as well as a text room, so a text area. So where if you don't feel comfortable in voice chat, you can just join the conversation in the text area, which is lots of fun. I'm going to look into getting um, I guess it's Audible account where they are where you listen to the book, and I'll probably start doing that instead of listening to music while I work out on the exercise bike. A little bit better for the brain than the you know 80s music, making me feel old. It's like I was like almost 20 when this song came out. Oh yeah, that was 80 years ago. It's even worse is when the kids say, "Oh, I'm really into these antique genres." It's like, not that antique. I'm just going to dry this out one more time. Then we'll do the bow, and then the fun begins. I'm going to zoom you out, and we're going to start doing the background. I'm going to add another layer of tape here so that it's properly edged off, because this page is bigger than the normal pages that I print on and what my printer is set on, as well as the size of the picture. It has a bit of an excess in the bottom of the picture. So I'm just going to frame it out with a little bit of washi tape. That's the word I'm looking for. All right, so we're just going to activate that. Now this is a very small area, so you don't need a whole lot of paint, and it's a very bright color. So as you can see, it just took just that little bit of water, and that paint just spread everywhere. And it's very vibrant red. So it'll dry a little bit thinner, but I'm just going to keep that dark edge up at the top of the ribbon. Same with down here. I'm going to lift up some of that in the middle. We may go over the ribbons with a bit of clear glitter pen just to give them a little bit of shine, because glitter is something that everybody needs. All right, and there's an area right there that I did not activate, so let's get that cleaned up. Like so. All right, we're going to dry this off, and then we're going to put the washi tape on. You have to be careful because the heat will lift up the washi tape, so I'm just going to let it cool off there so I can push it back down. Not a big deal because we're going to be coming over top of that. And we're not going to be painting in this area with the next area. So I think we're going to use this one. No, this one. This one matches better, I think. No. I know it's terrible. I'm got so much washi tape here, and it's so pretty. And I just want to use it all, of course. I think I'll use, yeah, no, that's too thick, so we'll use this one. We'll use this one. I don't want it too thick because I want to be able to just have it cover this area. So just got to find the end. Just going to come right up to the edge there. Like so. So that it doesn't give us a large space. The washi tape will come off very easily, so I'm not concerned about that. We are going to take our pencils and put them aside. I'm going to put them in the pencil holder because we are done with the pencils themselves. So the pencils we're using, just in case you didn't watch the other videos or that sort of thing, are the Flowwood watercolor pencils. A watercolor pencil is exactly the same as a colored pencil. However, the core is very dissolvable in water to create a watercolor effect. You will know if you have a watercolor pencil, even if it doesn't say watercolor pencil on it. Most companies, I won't say all, but most companies put this little paintbrush on their watercolor pencils so that you know that it's a watercolor pencil. That way you're not using a watercolor pencil thinking that it's a regular pencil and then getting mad because you used a spray fixative or something else on it and it decided that it was going to run the color all over your page. Um, if you are using a watercolor um, a set of pencils that are watercolor, make sure that you do not use a fixative or something like that on top of a unactivated watercolor coloring. Otherwise, you will have run. So you will have areas that will basically just run with the water. All right, so I'm just taking my eyedropper here and putting some drops of water on the paint pen. I'm going to zoom you out so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better because we are going to be using a larger brush and doing, oh, wrong way, doing the entire area. Oh, there we go. Oh, and you're crooked, 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 crooked. There you go. So we are going to be coloring this entire area in and using a larger brush to do so in the extremely large areas. In the smaller areas, we'll be using a smaller brush, of course, but in the larger areas, we're going to be using this big brush. So this is a 12 round. Yeah, that's the word. And it is done by Fumui, F-U-U-M-U-U-I. Um, they did send me these brushes for review quite some time ago, and they're a lovely brush. They work very, very nicely for doing backgrounds, for doing all sorts of things. Just putting the water down first. So we're going to do a bit of a wet on wet in the larger areas. And then we're going to take and we're just going to dab it in. This is just a light blue. And this is just going to be the base. Trying to not to get it on any other areas that we've got painted. So if it starts moving around, running around, just take your gun and dry it up a little bit. actually tip you up a little tiny bit so you can actually see what I'm doing. Now we're going to dry it. Now this is not going to dry all the way through, but it is going to dry it enough that I can work some more on it. But by the time we're done, it's going to be very saturated. So we're going to let it dry for a little while before we put the liquid pearls and the gel pen on it. All right. So now we're going to come back in with our brush and we're going to wet it down again. So I'm just putting a coat of water on top of the color that I already have down here. Okay. And now I'm going to take a bit of purple. And if you have an area that jumps up like that, just grab your paper towel and just lift it up. And I'm just dripping it off of the brush. Then we're going to take the dark blue, make sure I got enough water on the brush. And then we're going to do the same with the pink. Now these two are being a little fussy there, so we're going to dry that. And come up a little bit higher. Try not to move the colors around too much. So if you come up a little higher, the water doesn't move. So as it dries, you can move down a little bit closer. And keep that water and that dark color in one area. So basically you just push it around with the heat to stay in that area. Like I said, the back of this is going to be quite wet by the time we're done. Now this one here I want to spread out a little. So I'm just using the wet brush and just moving it out a little. The darker blue has a higher concentration in the, like that. All right. Now for these edge areas, we're going to take our smaller, it's a larger brush, I think it's a 9. I'm just grabbing some paper towel so that if I have to dab anything up, I have something readily available. Because these areas that I'm going to start doing here are a little bit closer to areas I don't want that blue paint on. So we're going to try to be a little careful. So this is an 8, yes. Also done by the uh, Fumi company. And we're just going to come up and we're going to put the water on there. I'm going to try to be a little bit more careful in these areas. A little bit less of the heavy water so that it doesn't run into her skin tones or her hair or her dress and that sort of thing. Still going to wet it down though. Still going to take the light blue paint and bring it in. This is the part that I didn't think I had time for when I was streaming. I guess it wasn't last night, it was Monday night, wasn't it? Oh my goodness. I have no idea what day it is anymore. That's terrible. I have no clue what day it is. Just taking some of the water and putting it on the paint square here so that it stays a little moist. And I've got a little bit too much water there. So we're just going to dab that a little bit. A little bit is fine. Having it wash in is okay, but you don't want it to, you want it to be the background, not the main color, you know what I mean? You want that hair and dress and everything else to stand out and still have that background coloring. I'm going to take a little bit of water here and we're just going to spread this out a little bit. Same with this here. Just going to spread it out a little bit. So the great thing about watercolor is it reactivates, so you can easily just spread it around. Now we're going to take a little tiny bit of purple and just put some spots in there. And then we'll rinse that off and take a little bit of the pink. And then we'll dry that off. Again, staying up above and moving our way down because we don't want to move those colors too much. All right, now we're going to do up around her arms and up into the top area here. So we're going to come back with the water. Again, trying to stay as far away from the skin as possible, but still maintain a good edge there. This is watercolor paper. I would personally not try this on a um, non-watercolor paper, but that's just me. There are a lot of people out there with a lot more confidence with watercolors than I have that just slap it on and do absolutely gorgeous things, which I have no idea how they do. And they're going, and I have, I'm terrified to put water on watercolor paper. And they just do it on coloring book paper. It's like, how did you do that? I want to grow up to be like you. I have a lot of respect for a lot of the colorists out there that can do that sort of thing. Um, Pickle is one. She just puts it on and it's just boom, 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 and then it's gorgeous. It's like, how'd you do that? And why can't I do that? Because if I tried to do that, it would not turn out that pretty. All right, just going to put in the blue here. Now I feel this is a little bit too dark, so I just rinsed my brush, and I'm going to lift some of it off. Like that. All right, then we're going to come in to the top area here as well with the brush. Just giving that little bit of area a little bit more time to dry. This area up here, we'll start adding the blue. Up here in the corner, I want it a little bit darker. So I'm going to take a little tiny bit of that dark blue as well. And just put it up here in the corner. Because the further up in the sky you go, the darker the sky is going to be. All right. Now we're going to dry that. And you can't see what I'm doing. There you go. I'm zoomed out as far as I can go, so um, okay. And we get that all dry. Enough that it's not moving with the air. And then we're going to come back through with our paintbrush again with some water. come in. I'm not going to go all the way up here. I'm just going to come a little bit into here with that water. Try not to put too much water down, but still have enough water to do the spreading effect. And take the purple. Not quite enough water on that part. That's fine. All right. Then we're going to do the same thing with the pink. And with the pink, I'm just going to pick up some of it. And just lighten it up a little bit. And then we're going to take a little bit of this dark blue. Come back with some of that light blue. And fill in those areas that look like they were a little bit forgotten. Like that. Now, if you don't like an area in the way that it's sitting, you just take your dry brush Now this one is a little bit moist, but you can take a dry brush and just pick it up a little bit. Like so. Now we're going to dry that area, and then we're going to do the other side, and we'll be all done. And like I said, there is going to be a little bit of dry time that we need to give it because the water is going to wick underneath. Because of the amount of water that we're putting on the paper, I can get it to a point where I can work with it with the heat gun. However, it still feels moist to the touch. So you will find that when you're doing this sort of thing where you're using a lot of water, even if you use a heat gun, it is best to let it completely dry for a couple of hours before you start adding your embellishments. This is my opinion and my opinion only, and from previous mistakes that I have made. I did find that when I didn't wait, that the embellishments bled really badly into the area that I had painted. So be careful of that. You can end up with a really big mess if you're not patient sometimes. Sometimes I am not patient. Patience is a virtue that I did not stand in line for. So just saying, um, if you're not a patient person like me, um, it is a test of your patience to watch paint dry, but unfortunately, it is one of those things that you do have to to take into consideration when working with watercolor is making sure that you give it time to dry. All right, now we're going to go in with that dark blue up here in the corner. We've got a little bit too much water up there, but it'll be fine. We'll let it dry out a little bit before hitting it with the heat gun. Otherwise, it'll blow that dark blue up into her hair, and we don't want that. And I am moving some of the water with the brush as I go down the edge. Of course, there's going to be water pooled up underneath the washi tape as well. So if you don't want your washi tape to peel, um, be careful where your water is going to. So, all right, so we're going to let that dry for a second. While we're waiting for that to dry, we're going to go in here with the brush, and we're just going to do the large areas with this brush. I've got some really, really tiny areas there, so I'm going to use a smaller brush for that. That might be a little bit too much water. Let's dab some of that up. Just a little bit. Might be able to get some in here. Yeah. Actually, I might even be able to do it with this brush. Just have to be really careful not to put too much water. Yeah, it's too much water. So we're going to dry that off a little bit. Because we want it to be blue, but we don't want it to be blue in her hair. Yeah, we need to move this a little bit too. That's a little too much water up there. So I'm just going to lift some of it off and just move it around a little bit. All right. These really tiny areas I'll have to use a smaller brush for. So I'm a little bit inadequate with the brain brush for that. So I'm just lifting off some of that paint, giving it that light blue instead of the heavier blue color. So sometimes, especially if you're using a lot of water and then you have a small space where there isn't going to be as much water, the color that you put down can end up being a lot darker than in other areas where you've got more water. So all you need to do is just come back in with a damp brush and move it around. Lift it up a little bit. And we'll finish up this part. And then we will see if I can get in here. Yeah, I was able to. And that's part of her sleeve back there, I think. So we're actually going to color that in. It's the back part of her sleeve. We missed a piece. That's okay. So we'll take our smaller brush and we'll just activate this. And then we're going to take our heat gun and we're going to dry this blue. One of the things I like about the heat gun, especially with the hot press paper, is when it heats up, it reflattens. So if you get a bubble or a crease or a wrinkle, you can usually flatten it out again just by adding the heat gun to dry it. So this bubbled up, and I know it bubbled up because I watched the water move. But using that heat gun actually flattened it right out. All right, now we're going to do the same sort of things. On this side, we're not going to do as much in her hair area. We may do little bits, but not large areas. We're going to come in with the water, trying not to overtake that blue too much. And we'll come into this area here. And we're going to use the smaller brush. And we're going to take the purple. And we're going to take the pink. And we're going to take the big brush here. So this is the medium brush. Just going to take a little bit of water and spread out the ones that aren't spreading out very far. Like so. And then we're going to take the dark blue. We're going to let that dry for just a touch. Because I have a bit of a movement of the water there. I'm going to let that dry, and then we'll hit it with the heat gun. Now for the rest of it, because I don't want to really make a ton of water on these areas, I'm just going to come in with my small brush and put in the water. Then come in with the purple, and we'll just do individual dots. This area here we'll do 2, maybe 3. So we'll do the pink, and some purple. Same with down here. We'll take a dark blue, and a purple. And basically what we're doing is we're just making sure that the background works around her, not the other way around. Not putting the background in front of her. So we want her to stand out, not the background. The background's always great, but you want your main thing to stand out. Now I'm just going to pick some of that up just to fade it out a little bit. Same with here, just going to pick a little bit of it up. Just to fade it out. Like so. And then we have the heat gun. And we're going to dry this out the best we can with the heat gun. I'm going to let it sit for a couple of hours. And then I will be back and we will do the embellishments. I will, while we're waiting, I'll clean up my desk and get back to you as soon as it is dry. So this will take a couple of hours to dry completely. I will take it off the mat and make sure that it's dry completely before I come in with the embellishments. So I will be back and we will do up the hearts down here as well as her butterfly, and her little heart there and her sparkles in her hair. And yeah, so I'm just going to make sure that you're zoomed all the way out so you can see what we've done so far. Now, I don't like the way that dot up there is looking, so I'm just going to take the wet brush and break down that drop of paint. Obviously, there wasn't enough water there for that drop to dissolve properly. So we're just going to break that up a little bit, like that. Now, I am noticing that my ink is running a little bit here, so I'm just going to take the small brush and reactivate the pink a little bit so that it pushes that ink back out. I don't mind the ink going into the blue, but I really don't want it to go into the pink. So just reactivate it a little bit, and it pushes right back out. And then we'll dry it off. And then we have no bleed into her hat. And that's how I deal with bleed. I don't know if that's the right way to deal with it, but that's how I deal with it. All right, guys, I will be back. When we come back, I will be doing the embellishments on her skirt, her necklace, and the rest of her. So stay tuned. This will only just take a second for you. For me, it's gonna take a little while to let it dry. So I will have my desk cleaned off when we get back. I may have the washi tape removed off of her and off the board so that she can dry a little bit easier on the back side. And once she's all dry, we'll come back and we will finish up her embellishments. All right, guys, I will be right back. All right, so welcome back. She is fairly dry. I have taken the washi tape off. I did have a bit of an issue down here, which we'll use a little bit of tape or something to fix later. Um, it peeled the paper. Be careful with your washi tape or whatever tape that you're using um, for taping it down. When you take off the washi tape, make sure that you peel it away from your page, not towards it. Otherwise, you have boo-boos like me. Um, just saying. All right, so we're going to zoom into the hearts here, and we're going to get started with the center area. We've got our red liquid pearls. This one is called Rouge, and hopefully I don't have to stick it. Um, make sure that you have a piece of paper. I have some paper towel here. We've got the pins for the butterflies there. And just give a squeeze onto your paper towel. Make sure that you have movement of your liquid pearl. I use a brush when doing large areas like this. So I'm going to put a good amount down and then I'm going to brush it so that it's smooth. So that's a fairly good amount. And then we're going to take our brush and we're going to move it around and fill in that area of the heart. Now use an old brush for this because you will not be able to use this brush for anything else. This is the brush I use for liquid pearls and stickles and stuff like that. Just going to spread this out over here, and then I'll wipe off the brush and get into those smaller areas. This will take some time to dry as well, so don't be impatient with it. Make sure you don't touch it because you will end up getting it stuck to things. Do not put anything on top of your picture, you know, that sort of thing. And I'm just going in little circular motions just so that we get that pearlization that the liquid pearls gives us. Try not to lift too much of it off. Now this is going to stand up, so it will be a dimensional. So now we're just going to push this up to the edge very carefully. For the next part, we're not going to use a brush, we're just going to use the nib of the nozzle. I'm getting down fairly close to it so I can see where I need to move it. So if my head starts showing, you know I'm getting really close. All right, so we're going to move this over here. And because it is such a thick amount, it's going to take a little bit longer to dry than, say, if you're painting it on. I could have put it on a palette and just took it and put it on, but it wouldn't give that pearlization look that I wanted. Having it a little bit thicker gives you that dimension, which gives you the shadows as well as the pearlization. And bring it down here. I'm going to turn a little bit. We're going to move this over. If you have really, really shaky hands, be very careful. You will find that your shaky hands is giving you issues. So again, I just wipe the brush again. And I'm going to start moving this and evening it out a little bit. Getting it to fill the areas. It does take some time to dry, but it does start drying fairly quickly. So you do have a little bit of working time, but once it starts feeling a little sticky or starts grabbing onto the brush, you're out of time. So I'm getting close to being out of time here with the top area. So thankfully I'm done. So that is the first one. Now these ones over here are only small. So we're just going to do a small amount. And we're going to move this around. We can always add more if we need more. The great thing with liquid pearls is you can take it away too. I'm not too concerned about going over the edge here. I will be adding a border, so with some washi tape. Just going to turn it and get down into here. This little tiny area here. All right, now we'll do this one over here as well. Again, with just a small amount. A little tiny bit goes a long way when doing small areas. Just going to move that to the edge. Now I am trying to be a little bit careful that I don't get this onto the other pearls, but if I do, it's not a big deal because the rose gold pearls that we're going to put on it will cover it up. Like so. Now for her necklace, we're not going to use the brush. I'm going to flip you around so that we can see the necklace. And we're just going to put one little drop right there, like so. And that's it for the red pearl. Now we're going to flip you around again. And we're going to go back into our pearls down here. Try not to stick your finger in the stuff you've wiped off on your paper, like I just did. Now we've got this one here, which is rose gold. Again, squeeze some out onto a paper. And we're going to use the nib. I'll come back through with a dauber and remove the little what are they called? Kind of looks like a Hershey's Kiss, you know? All right. And I do apologize for the turning, but in order for me not to stick my hands in things, it is a necessary evil. You do not want to stick your hand in this. You will drag it everywhere. Just saying. Again, out of experience, not because I'm a master with these things. I have done it before. Come on. Now sometimes if you've got too much on an area, you can pull it back in just by going into it and unsqueezing the bottle. All right. Now we're going to, before we move on to the next ones, we're going to take our dot tool here and we're just going to take off those little areas that look, that one bled in a little bit. So you got to be careful that you don't bleed into your red as well. All right, so that one's going to bleed in a little bit too. And I'll come back through and I'll clean those up. So we're going to leave those alone, let them dry. We're going to go on to the next area. And we're going to do the same thing. And then this area over here. I know the concentration. Okay. And that's how we're going to do those embellishments. Now we're going to come up in here into the butterfly and we're going to just put a little dot in each butterfly. We're going to use our tool and we're just going to rub it around. Trying not to hit that one in the middle. Ah! Try not to stick your fingers in things. I, of course, stuck my finger into things, so I will have to fix those later when they dry. The great thing is that you can come back and add a little bit more when it's a little drier, and you won't even notice the accident unless it's like spread in areas that you don't want it to be spread in, then you'll notice it. All right, so there we have those. And that's all we're going to do with the liquid pearl. We're going to take our gel pen and we're going to do her necklace. Now I'm going to turn it this way so I don't stick my fingers in things. And we're going to take This one here, which is a pinky red. We're going to do the center areas. And then we're going to take some gold. And do the wings. So that's a darker gold, and I think this is a lighter gold. A little bit more red gold. Like so. Like that. And then we're going to take the pink again, and we're going to come in here to her earring, as well as the heart on her forehead. And the heart down here. Told you we were going to embellish it. And I also wanted to do this one, just the outside of it. This paper is very textured because it is watercolor paper. So I'm just going back and forth so that I can fill in those grooves without getting any weird gel pen lines. Because when you do a large area, you can end up with weird gel pen lines. I do have some curl in the paper from the water, so I'm working with that as well. Now with gel pens, if the gel pens are really good gel pens and have a good flow, you shouldn't have to put the tip of the pen on the paper in a firm manner. You should be able to just sort of glide it over the top of the paper. And the ink should just flow out. There are some gel pens where you get frustrated with them because they're not actually writing. So in getting frustrated with them, you tend to put a little bit more pressure on them, which makes them work even less. I have so many different gel pens that work for a little while and then they just stop working. I don't know why. You know, it's like you said you were made for the glitter ink, but it seems that you get crammed up with it. Blend that in like that. All right, and this little bow up here as well. We're going to leave a little bit of a highlight there. And there. And I think that's it for those embellishments. Now I did want to take a little bit of the gold and color in the darker area here, just to give it a little bit of sparkle. Just a little bit of shine. Like so. Same with down here. And let's not stick our fingers in it again. Gel pen concentration, sorry. There we go. All right, so I'm going to zoom you out because she is finished. And as you can see, I did make a boo-boo here and stick my finger in it, but it's not a big deal. I can fix that. But if you look at the way that liquid pearl settles, it basically gets that pearlization look. It gives you that sparkle, but it also gives you that creamy look that pearls give you. We've got some sparkles. They're very, very faint sparkles on the heart as well as on the butterflies. They're pretty. They're very fine sparkles. I think I want to put a little bit in the ribbons. Now that I think about it, I want the ribbons to sparkle too. So I'm going to take the pink here, or red, and I'm just going to come down the edges. Of the ribbon. This one I'm going to have to fix, but it's okay. I'll glue it. And we'll come down here. Because I think I want these. Just trying to be very careful not to stick my hand in the liquid pearl. And this is what happens when you let loose with a gel pen. You see all different places you want to sparkle. All right, and then we'll do this one here. Yes, I know I painted these, but I like the sparkle. I know it's terrible. We will leave this ribbon. I will do the center with the glitter, but the rest of it we'll leave. And I might do the band up on her hat with the sparkle too. Now I'm thinking of all the different places I want to have sparkle. Now I know this is a very long video, so I apologize, but I did want to get it all completed for you guys um, in a in one video. Now, if I did a live stream instead, we could have finished off in the live stream, but I don't do live streams on Wednesdays anymore because of the fact that I try to get some family time in, and I haven't been lately. I haven't been spending enough time with my hubby and, just getting some family time in. All right, now I want to do this part here. And this part here. And her necklace. She's going to sparkle by the time. And then up here on her hat as well. Now I'm just going to do a thin line of it where that shadow is. Basically covering up the black line like that. All right, there she is, all finished up. All right, guys, thank you all very much for coming and hanging out with me. I hope you have enjoyed coloring the Valentine Cutie with me. Again, the artist of the pages I've been coloring this month on the channel, her name is Yuu. That is her pen name. That's not her real name, but that is her pen name. And she is an up-and-coming artist, a new artist, somebody that is very young and starting out with art. And I think she's doing an absolutely fantastic job of the art that she does. So please, 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 please show her some love, show her some support, and go on over to my Patreon for the Patreon shop and purchase some of her works. Um, all of the funds go to her, except for, of course, the Patreon fees. All right, guys, with that, thank you all very much for watching. Of course, always remember to like, comment, and subscribe to any YouTube artist that you enjoy. And of course, always remember to relax, color, and stay safe, everyone. Until next time, bye-bye for now.